I hope more folks really run for office because I can't be the only one. It's extremely difficult. People may see rainbow and sunshine and I'm doing good work, but mentally and emotionally it's draining. And I just hope that the community really also steps up. I've stepped up and I hope that they can step up to support the work that I am doing, but also, for more folks to run for office.
A movement is underway of people abandoning the emotional, physical, and financial expenses of city living and crafting their own purpose, livelihoods, and joy in the rural reaches. The Urban Exodus podcast shares the wisdom, wit, and stories of those who decided to embark on the road less traveled to pursue their own interpretation of the good life. Small business owners, change makers, artists, farmers, and more, working towards building a better future for themselves and their fellow citizens. This podcast is for country dreamers, rural folk, and urban dwellers alike who want to feel more connected to the natural world and the purpose and choices in their lives. I'm Melissa Hessler. Welcome to the Urban Exodus. I'm excited to invite you to my conversation with Safiya Khalid. She is a fearless young politician who is inspiring her community and the next generation of civic leaders. Safiya was born in Somalia and fled the country with her mother and siblings at the age of 7. They were initially placed in New Jersey, but they found their way to Lewiston, Maine for the community. Lewiston has a large population of African immigrants, with 10% of the population from Somalia. Safiya learned how to speak English in Lewiston schools, and she became an American citizen at the age of 14. In high school and college, she worked for LLBean making boots. Safiya's mother instilled a strong desire to help others, and this upbringing inspired Safiya to run for office, to be a voice for her community. In 2019, she ran for Lewiston City Council at the age of 23. Safiya was singled out by hate groups during her election, and she received racist messages and threats from all over the country. But she didn't let that hate deter her, and she won her seat by nearly 70% of the vote. Safiya is the first Somali-American council member, and she is working really hard to bring more opportunities to Lewiston and to be a voice for her constituents. Welcome. It's so nice to see your face. I've followed your political journey since 2020, and as a Mainer myself, it's just really exciting to see young people getting involved in politics in the state, and especially young people who come from communities that aren't being really represented in this state. So I am so happy that you won your city council seat, and I'm really excited to talk to you today.
I'm happy to. Thank you. It's been such a long time trying to set this meeting up.
I realize you're very busy because obviously you started a new job and you're learning lots of things, but I'm very happy to speak with you at long last.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, like for example, last night we were in a meeting until 10. It was the budget meeting. So, and I also do another job. So just balancing things, especially in COVID, in this pandemic, it's just interesting for everyone, really.
What do you do aside from working on the city council? What's your other job now?
I work with a nonprofit organization in the community. It's also in the Portland area too. And we're very much like youth focused, like youth activities and equity and racial justice focused. So it's in my area of expertise, really. So I've been working there for almost 2 years. July is going to be my second year working here. And I oversee a coalition of 20 folks across the state who do good work and supporting, their families and their friends and all of that. We also have another program that we run, a youth mentoring program, a grant that we got through Catholic Charities. So there's a lot of things happening, but like the coalition is my area that I work with.
Oh, that's wonderful. I wondered if you could start by telling us a little bit of your personal backstory.
My family and I came to the United States when I was at the age of 7. We settled in New Jersey, Elizabeth, New Jersey to be exact. And then few months living there, we moved to Lewiston, Maine. Back in New Jersey, we just couldn't adjust to the environment really. And there were not that many Somali folks or people who just looked like us and speak the language, and there wasn't a sense of community there. So, and we were fairly new, not knowing a word of English. So we came to Lewiston, and the reason why we came to Lewiston was because we knew like relatives and other friends and family and like tribe folks that lived in the state, specifically Lewiston. So since the end of 2006, I believe November of 2006, we lived in this area and never moved really. There are people who, Somali families and friends who lived here, moved away. Some came, some left, but we're still here. We made it home here. And I went through the Lewiston public school system. It's my mom and my 2 younger brothers. So I'm the first to go to school or just get education in general in my family. And also to, get a job and own a car, the first of everything. So, and then I went to University of Southern Maine after Lewiston High School, and I majored in psychology as well as a business minor. And when I graduated 2018, and when I graduated, I interned for the Department of Labor on the state level, but I left there after a couple of months and worked for the 2018 Democratic Party for the midterm elections, electing Janet Mills and Jared Golden. And that was my first time working in politics and like as a grassroots organizer. I worked in the Androscoggin area. So I really got experience to like how to do canvassing, phone banking, talking to people, building my confidence up, and like also learning like, issues and challenges the community really is struggling with, especially at the doors and during phone conversations. And then 2019 comes around. Towards the end of 2018, I enrolled in a program called Emerge Maine. I don't know if you know about them, but they train Democratic women to run for office. So I got experience, even though for me, like working in the elections really helped me, like in terms of field experience. The program really like helped me widen my connections and network in like the politics world and people that I can lean on and ask for advice, etc. Because I didn't know that many folks in like politics in the state or even in Lewiston. So that program really enabled me to like build network that really continues to support me until today. And then during my graduation, I announced I was running for Lewiston City Council. It wasn't my first time running for office. In 2017, I ran for school committee at large. So I was 22 years old, full-time college student, and working full-time at a manufacturing center at LLBean in the Lewiston area. So, and the reason why I ran was really just, for the kids to have, a policymaker, someone who, recently graduated from Lewiston High School, went to 21st public education, and we unfortunately did not have that in the school committee members. And also just like, the lack of diversity and representation, and that continues to be, unfortunately, as well as on the city council. So I did not win that race in 2017. I lost by a big margin, but 3,000 people voted for me. And that was a huge deal for me. Yeah, people coming out and putting my name on the ballot was super powerful for me. And, a sense of hope that I can do more. So, and instead of, not running for council or whatever the case or school committee, I decided to, just get involved in the community to learn and get on like boards and municipal committees. I was on like the library board of trustees and in other areas as well. I became the vice chair of the Lewiston Democratic Party. I got involved with the Democratic Party at the state level too. So yeah, I just try to plug in anywhere I can. Anyways, and in 2019, I announced I was running for council. Back in 2017, I didn't have experience or the money or the support. It was my first time, like I would go out and knock doors and I wouldn't know what to say other than, hi, I'm Safiya, I'm running for school committee. But 2019, I was ready and prepared. So the campaign trail was very difficult for the council. There was just a lot of trolls and, attacks on my identity and all of that, and just people trying to sway the campaign. And I just didn't listen to them. I really stayed on the message and focused on the reasons that I was running. And honestly, what really helped me win the election was, knocking doors and making connections and relationships with people that got me elected. When I was at the polling location, people would say, I'm voting for you because, you came to my door. So that was very empowering. It made me extremely smile and happy, of course. And then election night, I won the vote by almost 70%. So that's who I am.
This episode is brought to you by Hessler Creative, a creative photography duo offering conceptualized brand content in in-person and online workshops. Hire us for elevated photos and videos to help your business rise above the noise and expand your customer reach. Or you can join us for an online or destination photography workshop. Explore new places, learn new techniques, and elevate your creative work. Learn more about our workshops and our commercial photography services by visiting HesslerCreative.com or click the collaborations button on urbanexodus.com. It seems like to me you are a person who has found their purpose early in life. And some people, are still searching for their purpose as they reach middle age or even old age. What makes you wake up every morning and continue to do the work that you're doing?
Well, that's such a good question. And in terms of purpose and knowing who I am, I'm only 25 years old and I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm going to eat for lunch. There's always people I may probably have that, she has her life together, but I really don't.
That makes people feel a lot better, I think. Everybody feels that way.
Yeah, no, it's I'm in my middle 20s, and I think at this age, all the young people are like, okay, what's next for me? And that's the same for me, honestly. I did run for office at a really young age, but your question of what really like gets me up and continues to, why I do this work is because of community, really. But mostly my mom. I am very people-centered, and I love helping people, and that's what just gives me energy and really power to do all of that I'm doing. Just if I can put a smile on someone's face, that all that matters. And that's, putting my community first is really what gets me going, and just knowing my life experience and in my background, and knowing people in the community who have, are going through struggles and challenges. And if I can support them at the city level or any level, all the things that I do, I would really want to do that. My mother, in her own way, really helped her own community back home in Somalia. Even when she came here, she never thinks about herself. She always puts other people before her own needs. And I saw that growing up, where she would raise money or funds to if someone is sick at the hospital, or cook them food, or go to someone's house for days because they're sick and she wants to support them. And I'm like, okay, Mom, what about us? But, I saw that, and I am who I am today because of my mother, really. But in terms of, knowing what I'm doing, I really don't. I just know that I gotta show up, for my community, and I want to pass policies that are equitable and centered around compassion and caring for others. So yeah, but other than that, I don't know.
Hey, those are good reasons to wake up in the morning. I'd love for you to tell us about this place that you call home and the benefits and difficulties of living in Lewiston.
I lived here since I was a kid, and throughout the school system, I really never experienced anything harsh I was just a kid trying to fit in. I always felt like I was catching up with other students because when I went to Montello Elementary School, I didn't even know, how to write my name. So I was in ELL, so I felt like I'm always having to catch up. I think when I went to freshman in high school was when I went to mainstream classes. And I never really did sport. I think the only sport I did was track. And I stopped doing that because I was really focused supporting my family financially at a really young age. So in terms of difficulties, I haven't seen any explicit in my face, racism or hatred or bigotry, anything like that. I think the work needs to be done at the government level in Lewiston, the municipal level, because whether on the school committee or on the city council, just, it's not reflective of the community, unfortunately, and that is really disheartening. And I hope that changes sooner than later, and I hope that other BIPOC people run for office. And because, how can you, being on the council, it just continues to shock me. The policies that we pass, it's honestly based on your perspectives and lived experience. And if you don't have that with those who are suffering in the community, you will pass harmful policies that would really will not benefit the community. So I think that is extreme difficulty that I see. And looking at the city employees and it's not reflective of the community too, where we're 20% immigrant population or so. I'm not sure, but we're a good, a large chunk of the community, not just immigrant, but just generally BIPOC folks. And whether that's on the city employee side or on the government side, it's not representative. And that's just extremely harmful. So I hope we change that. And I hope my election really encourages people to run for office. But in terms of benefits, I think there's benefits all around. A lot of people made Lewiston home here. And even though on the government side of things, it may not be the best, at least we have a sense of community and a sense of family and togetherness, that when something happens, you're able to go to that person and support them. When you're walking down the street, everyone knows each other. At the mosque, people come together and they just know each other and connect with one another.
That's something interesting that you touched on because, I think it is about 20% of people in Lewiston are from immigrant populations or non-white, but Maine is a very, very white state. And so representation is so important. What are some of the main policy initiatives that you want to focus on to help make Lewiston better for people that might be currently vulnerable or suffering?
Looking at last night's council, the majority of the council voted down to accept the budget, the school budget, and that was just extremely disappointing to see because our schools are growing. Our Lewiston public schools are growing. They're the most diverse in the community. We have the biggest elementary school, Connors Elementary School, in the entire state. So, and growing population is always a benefit. And, we really need to prioritize our kids. But last night, unfortunately, the council did not. And it's very disappointing. So I hope in the future, the council, that's something that I will continue to focus on, more funding for our schools rather than taking money away from educators and from the students who are really struggling, especially in a time of COVID. It's just unacceptable because, COVID has presented a lot of setbacks, really. So we need to give as much resource as we can. So that's something that I'm going to continue to speak loud and advocate for. And another thing is, just infrastructure development and, growing our housing and just building better houses and that are affordable, really, and better renting and all of that.
You obviously belong to the Muslim faith, and the Muslim faith is a faith that has been constantly vilified and persecuted and misrepresented in the United States and elsewhere as well. What does being Muslim mean to you? And is there anything that you want people to understand about your faith that non-Muslims might not know or understand?
Well, my faith is my identity. It's, wearing the hijab at a really young age. I cannot think of taking this off. It's part of who I am. Praying 5 times a day where, we're all busy, but just stopping for a second or 5 minutes or so and breathing to pray and ask for forgiveness and repent is also part of who I am and part of the Muslim faith. Currently, we are in the holy month called Ramadan. So we are fasting for 16 hours, and fasting really teaches it's not about hunger, really. It teaches us about there's a lot of lessons, and one of the biggest one is patience and really gratitude for all the things that we have. And Islam is a way of life because we have rules and obligations and things to follow and things not to do. So a lot of people, in movies or in shows, whatever the case, or generally people ask, oh, what is the point of life? I don't know my purpose in life. Or and for us, we know that answer, or Muslim, or Muslim folks know that answer, and that answer is just to serve the Lord so that you can, live in Jannah, in heaven, for the long term. So basically this worldly thing, it's just, you're working and serving your Lord and praying 5 times a day, you're fasting, you're giving charity so that when you die, you can live your actual life. So I'm not a scholar. I don't know a lot. So it is, I honestly, this month I bought so many books so that I can even learn more about the Muslim, the Muslim faith, Islam. So yeah.
That's beautiful, though. I mean, I love that you said it is about purpose. You were born with that purpose. And so that really makes a lot of sense of what you're doing in your life. How do you overcome feelings of fear and uncertainty when it comes to taking risks? You've been very courageous in all of these, you're running for a city council seat and you're getting attacks online from people out of state. How do you push through those things?
Well, at that time, I just, deleted all my social medias and
Smart.
just, blocked everything, and so that I can focus on the real message. But unfortunately, it did not stop after my election. It continued, or in terms of, I honestly, it's about the people who you have in your circle that really support you and that you can turn to after, a really difficult meeting or, a really nasty message that was sent to you. And, it's about a support system that you have. And for me, I am figuring that support system out. But again, I go to the gym. The gym is my place, my sane place where I can just get away from the world and just reading books. So yeah, I feel personally being the only BIPOC person on the council, it's just gotten difficult and more difficult because I speak when we are doing policy and results and all of that. I'm speaking from lived experience and things that I am seeing. day to day in the community. And some folks is about money and all of this and all of that. And they just unfortunately don't understand. And if you're not Black, you will not understand like the Black experience in America. And that's why I'm really advocating, or I hope more folks really run for office, because I can't be the only one. It's extremely difficult. People may see like, rainbow and sunshine, and I'm doing good work, but like mentally and emotionally, it's draining. And I just hope that the community really like also steps up. I've stepped up, and I hope that they can step up to support the work that I am doing, but also, for more folks to run for office, especially where this year is an election year, people pick up. Yeah.
This season of the Urban Exodus podcast is brought to you by Jake.art. Bring the beauty of the outdoors in. A new online art shop brought to you by Urban Exodus. Search our collection of affordable, high-quality fine art prints and illustrations by color or theme to find just the right work for your home or office. Or commission us to do a custom illustration or photograph of a loved one. Visit Jake.art, that's JAKE.ART, or click the shop button on urbanexodus.com. Are you working at all mentoring any young people who are considering
I am not. If anyone needs a mentor, I am here to mentor. I've been looking for someone to run for that program and apply for it, because they provide really good resources. There is a scholarship under my name and under another person's name, so money should not be the problem. But no, I'm not directly working with them right now.
Well, that's a great offer. So I think that the other question that I really have is, what advice do you have for other young people who want to make a difference and work towards a better future for all, but maybe they feel super overwhelmed at the enormity of our collective problems and maybe even a little bit scared to run for office in our very heated political climate that we're at right now?
That's such a good question. When I ran, I was asked several times to run, and I said no, or like I'm not qualified, and I was like, I don't have a degree, or I'm not a lawyer, like I wouldn't be the best fit. And look at me right now. I think I'm the best fit for the job. So first, like females, just I feel like we overthink, and we just have to be asked multiple times. And I hope even and for young guys, I hope that you can just pick up that ballot and just run. Everyone's qualified to run for public office, honestly, as long as you have good intentions, of course, and you have, as long as you have lived experience and you've seen like the smallest issue or like something that really concerns you in the community. There's many folks in the community who resonate with that too, with the same issue. They're dealing with the same problem. So if you pick up your, your papers and say that you're running, you will definitely get more support, because, it's about those potholes on the road and not funding our students. And there are many people who are in college who did run for office, who are recent college graduates. One thing that I think just the entire American government just needs to do better in, or the political system, is just pay people to when they are in these positions, because we are working a full-time job, or we may have a family, or different obligations. But unfortunately, a lot of these positions are for people who are retired, because like right now I'm working a full-time job and I'm doing a lot with my family, and I'm also doing the council, and of course it's just a stipend position, and as well as on the mayor's position, and even at the state legislature too. You will see a lot of retired folks running for these, because just us ordinary people who are working from 9 to 5 just will not be able to do these kind of offices.
Yeah, they make it kind of inaccessible, or people that, maybe own their own business and it's incentivized to be on a council seat.
Yeah. Or like rich lawyers or whatever the case. But like, the people who make the best policies are just the regular, your neighbor down the street who just, knows the community very well and has shown up for every issue or every problem that has happened. But she can't run for an actual office because she has kids that she is taking care of in her family and working a 9-to-5 job. So it's just unrealistic, honestly. And I hope that things change.
What do you feel is misrepresented when it comes to local government that you want to speak more openly about, aside from what you just spoke of? And what does being a civil servant mean to you?
It really just means, again, like just showing up for my community. And for quite some time, a lot of people who like have problems with the city or, are dealing with a problem, whatever that is, they didn't have someone to connect with and really advocate on their behalf. So a lot of people, since I got elected, who didn't even vote for me, think that I'm their city councilor. And honestly, majority of those my constituents are white Americans, but Lewiston is full of immigrant and Black and brown people and Somali folks. So these other folks think that I am their city councilor, and that just means so much to me because I may represent Ward 1, but I also informally represent, the immigrant population. So when there's a problem, they reach out to the only person that they can identify themselves with. And that just means so much to me. But in general, too, I think just what it means to be a civil servant is for someone to reach out to you, a sense of hope and it's not the end of the world. I will, reach out to this specific person on the council or he has the power or whatever to help me with whatever I'm dealing with.
The pandemic has really laid bare the enormous disparities in our country. Understatement of the year. I wondered if you could talk a little bit about what you think needs to change from a local government perspective to address these major systemic issues.
Funding is the biggest thing, definitely. One thing that I've seen is that COVID, there's just a lot of disparities across in systems and inequities, but COVID really presented a major disparity where the Black and brown communities were getting twice. We are such a small percentage of Maine's population, but we were the highest to be tested positive for COVID. So that is a major problem. And it's all about funding. It's about better housing because a lot of the time, a lot of families didn't have the privilege to isolate themselves in a large home because they all lived in a very condensed multifamily buildings that they really couldn't isolate. So a family of 8 would all testing positive for COVID. So I think better housing options and also resources and services to for people to isolate themselves and receive this, the things that they need. So the housing stock in the country was something that I've seen is a big disparity. And also the schools as well. I think since we got onto Zoom and a lot of students were doing Zoom, just generally all moms and parents had difficulties, but I think the Somali or just the immigrant folks had an extra level of difficulty really supporting their kids because they're not familiar with Zoom or just using computers and all of that and just keeping track of all their kids. Zoom schedules was a really difficult thing, and which means now we need to give more resources to the schools so that parents can really support their kids and build a better relationship between the parent and the school system. But I think really COVID in general, as horrible as it is, showed us reality of what we were living in before. And now we're able to act and change what needs to be changed.
Obviously, 2020, 2021, they have been very difficult years on many levels. What has this time taught you, and how will those lessons translate into your intentions for the future?
Definitely, they have brought a lot of lessons, especially in the 2020 elections. I was super nervous, oh my God, that Trump again would get elected. We all were. But just the amount of votes Biden has gotten, and also the Black Lives Matter movement, and the amount of people that showed up and continue to show up for these kind of movements really gave me a sense of hope and a level of comfort to, that we are united after all, and that, there may be a small amount of vile vocal folks who are, hateful, and we cannot change them. But the majority of Americans really, will stand up for one another and show up in times of difficulty. That hope was much needed. And a lot of the time I'm like, there's American dream, there's a better future. And it's, and I'm always like I barely hear from like the good people. I'm always hearing from the mean people. And so I just have to like keep reminding myself that we're all busy, and that this one person does not represent the entire country and all people. So yes, those two things are extremely dear to my heart. Hope, a sense of hope. And in terms of my intentions moving forward, I think my intentions will continue to be the same, honestly. Continue to put my community forward. All throughout COVID, I did the same thing. I was delivering food to people. I was giving out masks and hand sanitizer to many community members who are really struggling, while also, getting on the council and making and advocating for relief funding for landlords and small businesses. And then, just continuing to support my community is what my intention continues to be, really.
What's like a perfect day for you in Lewiston? What do you love most about that area?
I hope the weather was consistent. It's not, unfortunately. But a perfect day is a sunny day. And Lewiston is just beautiful. And just like, I love taking walks. So if I'm able to, and also as little meetings as possible is a perfect day. So and also being able to take a walk. There's a trail right behind where I live, and it's in my ward. So, and everyone's out and like just talking to people and saying hi to folks and just chit-chatting is a perfect day.
That's wonderful. What are your plans for the next few years? And would you ever consider running for higher office, for a state seat, or maybe even an office on the federal level?
I definitely want to go back to school, and I don't know what I want to do, but I definitely want to go back to school. And in terms of running for higher office, I'm not sure. We'll have to see. I'm very like community focused, and even in like during the George Floyd protest, I would be in the streets screaming and yelling, and then like come back to a city council meeting and make the same argument. So I was like both an activist and a policymaker, but I really love the activist side of things. So who knows, I may like focus more on community and just build relationships with people. Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited to see where your life and career takes you, because you are such a powerful and driven and a woman that has real purpose, and it's selflessness too. And you just don't see that very often. And I'm really just excited to see where you go. So thank you so much for speaking with me.
Oh, thank you so much. No, I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much for listening to my conversation with Safiya Khalid. I am so inspired by her passion, her courage, and her drive to help her community. Safiya is a powerful agent of change, and I look forward to seeing what the future holds for this hardworking young woman. You can find a link to Safiya's website and social accounts by visiting our blog on urbanexodus.com. Hi, friends. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Urban Exodus podcast. Urban Exodus is a labor of love, and it's only made possible by your generous support. Maybe you just discovered Urban Exodus, or maybe you followed the project for a long time. Either way, please consider supporting my efforts so I can keep this going. The first and easiest way is to click the support button at the top of urbanexodus.com and pledge any amount you like. Second, sponsor an episode of the podcast as a business or individual and get a 20-second ad spot in an upcoming episode. Just click the podcast link on urbanexodus.com to learn more. Third, you can sign up for an in-person or online workshop with me or one of the incredible creative professionals through our workshops at How Hill Farm. Click the workshops page on urbanexodus.com to learn more. Fourth, you can buy something from Jake.art, our new Urban Exodus online shop. A fine art print or wall art for your home or office. A custom illustration or portrait of your family or loved one. There are so many cool things. Just click the shop page to peruse what's available. Lastly, you can hire me to photograph your business or family, or take one of my online or destination workshops. Click the collaborations page on urbanexodus.com to learn more. Another really excellent way to support is to recommend Urban Exodus to your friends and relations. Also by giving a 5-star ratings on iTunes to beat the algorithm and so that we can be more easily searchable. Your continued support will keep this passion project running. I want anyone who feels unfulfilled by career or circumstance to know that they have options and alternatives. All of the work that I do through this project is to encourage people to believe in themselves and to work towards a better future for their community and the planet. Thank you for helping me continue to do this work. You can find Urban Exodus on Instagram and Facebook at The Urban Exodus. To read more in-depth features on folks who ditched the city and went country, visit urbanexodus.com. Until next time, I'm Alyssa Hessler, and this is The Urban Exodus.